Hello, everyone, for another episode of the OmniFuturists group. Tonight, we're going to talk about a few different things. Let's go through a status for a few minutes first. Oh, I think I see Alan in the waiting room. So let's wait for Alan to join us.
There we go. And then the autopilots, those AI, they take notes.
We usually have more machine intelligences than human intelligences here.
Yep. Let's see. Gives a summary. This is one of the meetings we had a while ago.
Hi, Alan.
You're muted.
My friend, you're on mute.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing today, man?
Great. A little bit ago, I just lay down for a nap, and then all of a sudden, I realized like 7. I got to get up. I got to go to the Anyway, I have changed my location. I don't know if you can tell by the background, which is just a small. But anyway, I'm loving it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in a different location too. I'm laying down on the couch because I'm just too lazy today. Okay, so let's go a little bit over status. Real quick, let's concentrate on the book for a second. I'll do my version. I did record my 10-minute summary of my chapter, and I also have I did an audio recording. I read my entire chapter into just an audio recording. And Laura's uploading both of those, so those are done for the book. I think you guys saw the website is up. It's very it's not tailored for us so much yet. I selected they have a few basic versions of setups. And so I picked like an environmental products type of setup. So it just is that kind of the general background and terminology. I'll be going through that and tailoring it for our particular products and for our book, for example, once it's available. So that's what I've gotten done for the book. Art, why don't you talk about the work you've been doing on the cover?
Yeah, I was doing some research. So I was working on the cover. I'm designing it in Adobe Express. And then I did some Googling I forgot what I was Googling for. But anyway, I ran across that Amazon has their own publishing tools. And I went through there, and the one for the ebook isn't very advanced. It's just very basic. But there's one for the prints that I saw that looked more complex because it had like the front page and the back page spread out, in one big template. And I don't know, I'll play around with it. I think I was able to get in there just by sort of creating my own book. And is someone here? Okay. So, and I'll be able to get in there and play around with that interface. But are we just doing the ebook for now?
Well, I want it all. I want be able to do a printed out paperbacks. I think we want a version that is a free PDF and an ebook. And I just told you I'm recording my chapter, so audiobook. So we don't have to do all of them simultaneously, but I do want to my preference is to end up with all 4 versions.
Okay.
Does that make a difference to you, Art?
I'm gonna have to design it differently. So we're gonna have one for the ebook, and then I have to do like another one for the book. So I'm gonna have to change things around. So basically, I just want people's feedback. I shared out a link. Let me share it out again. Or can I just share out my page? All
Sure.
right.
Yeah, let's see. I think I need to make you a host before you can share. I think that's how that works. Give me a second and I'll You're the host.
Okay, so let me share out real quick. Share screen. Okay. All right, can you see my page here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I've created several versions. I'm just sort of playing around. And if you go through here, you could see all the different versions I've created. And because the change of the title, I couldn't go with what I had before. So I had to change that.
Right. Yeah.
So
Thank
this
you for
is-
your accommodating that. Oh, nice.
Yeah, so this is the last version I've done. So I found this graphic here that has all the little computer circuit boards.
Oh my God, I love that one. I don't know
And-
about the rest of you, but that Jesus, that's beautiful.
So, and my original image, I sort of cut it where the
Yeah.
light is coming from the center, and I mirrored it.
This is great.
And so it looks like there's two beings now, two
Jesus.
nano guys coming
Yeah.
from the light. So yeah.
They're going
this is
into
my
the
last-
future. They're going they're going through a time warp or a time tunnel or Jesus, this is great. And
Yeah, I don't know
what
if they're,
I've-
if they're
I gotta
going through it or they're coming through it to save us, but yeah, it looks fantastic.
And I like the font you use for the title, and the background is wicked, right?
Mhm.
Electrical circuits. This is killer, dude.
Yeah, this
I don't
is
know what
better than
every-
I imagined.
I don't know what anybody else thinks, but man, I'm sold. Jeez.
So
Beautiful.
yeah, that was the last version I made. Of course, I made these other versions because I was just playing around with the software. So all the black, the black just looked too plain. So that's why I found those circuit
Yeah, I
board.
think and it really kind of de-emphasizes that picture too, which is cool. So
But
That's-
there's a different layout also.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you can go through there and just any feedback, if you
Can
like
you
the
flip-
last.
I'm sorry, can you flip through them again? I want to know which one I'm voting for. So the one with the circuits, that one. What would I call this one? What was it? What's the
On
title?
the
One with the
folder,
circuits.
I have it mirrored too.
Mirrored two. Okay.
Mirrored too. This
Thanks.
is mirrored too.
Oh my God, I'm in love.
This one is 14. Okay. 13.
For such an
12.
amazingly creative guy, you've got some very ordinary titles. Good. I'm just teasing.
All right. Yeah, 12. This is where I first started. 12, 13, 14, 15.
Gotcha.
Mirrored 2 and mirrored
Two.
Oh,
were
15 then.
somewhere
Yeah.
between
15.
here.
15 was probably the one I'm just like in love with. Is that right? Is that the name of that one? 15?
Yes, this is
Yeah,
15.
Yeah. I see Ben's giving you an okay. Okay.
So
All right.
like
Alora,
I said, I altered
Alora-
the image. So yeah, like I said, the new image, it's still the same image. I just played
Yeah.
around with it, did some
Alora,
photoshopping.
Alora, you've been very quiet. What do you think?
I've been making comments in the chat.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm
Yeah, I really like this one.
yeah.
It
I
Well-
slaps.
Okay, that's good. It's good that you like it because sometimes getting feedback, it can be
Oh.
difficult because people want different things and then I have to go in different directions. But okay, so yeah, just anything that you think might help me improve it more. So I can sort of make variations of this one. So just any feedback, and I can create a few more variations, and I might think of something better. So
make like this, make like, how at the top there's a white square. Just make like the slightest black outline so that it's a black box.
a black
Eh?
box where
Wow.
Black box. Yeah, right there.
here? Oh,
A
well,
black
that's
box.
that's kind of the painting though.
Ah,
That represents a Sonos speaker in my room. So,
well,
I'm not sure if I've told anyone here the full story, but one night I woke up and this thing appeared to me.
Wow.
you
Yeah.
should have just brought your phone.
Well, wait a second. Wait a second. Now, what had you been smoking that night that it appeared?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I
Wow.
I don't have dreams about waking up in my bed. I have dreams of being in these grand cities and places with other people, but I don't usually have dreams of waking up in my bed. And yeah, that I
Well-
think it might have been an AGI from the future that came back in time and gave me this idea. So that's what I'm going with.
Well, I
Wow,
really
you
like
should try not smoking more often. Yeah.
I really
It's-
like your nanobots. This is great. Thank you.
Some of your graphics had one nanobot versus two. I feel like that's the one debatable. Yep, because I like the circuit board background and I like the Future Visions font, but it's like, well, single versus double nanobot thing in the background. Is that a decision to be made? I mean, you could have this background and then one versus the other.
Yeah. The
On single
reason for
versus
the
double.
mirroring is because of the dimensions of the photo. I can't stretch
Yeah.
it because it alters the image too much. And the software itself doesn't allow me to stretch it, you know. So I would have to play around with all sorts of stretching in Photoshop to try and get the exact dimensions of the space here. But because I'm sort of playing around with it, it's not that easy.
Can you go
So-
back to the single for a second? Yeah, see, I gotta say that the double has two aspects that I really admire. Go back to the two for a second. The idea of being funneled into the future, a bright future in front of us, is clear in this one with the white center that is not in the single. The other thing is to go as a group. You know, it's not just one person on their own, it's all of us headed off into the future. So anyway,
I concur. That's what I'm drawing out of it too. Like, yeah.
there is for me, Ben, there's a dramatic improvement going to this one. For me, it was like magic. You know,
There-
my little brain started having little sparks in it when I saw this one. I was like, wow, that's way better.
So
It reminds me of that African proverb about if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go well, go in a group, something like that. Yeah.
Aha.
So I think these dimensions will work for the ebook. And for the printed version, I'm going to have to play around with that Amazon software and fit it to that software and then create the back cover. So I have to play around with creating the back cover somehow.
Yeah.
So,
And we don't have to go with the same image on every version, right? I mean, that's just unless I mean there's marketing consistency and all that.
uh-huh.
Also, consistency
Oh.
is the hobgoblin of small minds, say some.
Yeah, no,
So I think we could do different versions. Yeah.
I like the idea of different versions, frankly. But I want to give Art flexibility as he tries to adjust to the software. If he's got to do it one way for one and one for another, I think I'm going to say this, Art, out loud. I think that my version of life would be you're done because this is really excellent. You can do whatever you want, my friend, but we're running out of time for a lot of more options. I want to get this in the done really badly.
Okay. Now the et al. I did it all lowercase. It didn't look very good with a capitalized E. Do you know?
No, I
What's
think that's
that?
correct. At
Fine.
all is lowercase.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the by, is that fine?
Yeah.
Or could I just drop the by and just David Wood et al.?
To keep it a good cover all the way around, I mean, I think like you should keep the circuit board look all the way around to the back cover. And same for with the image of the things coming all the way around. Do you know what I'm saying? Like keep the horizontal borders like they are, and then on the back cover can be the narrative that sells the book kind of thing. But you could keep the graphics all the way around the cover, and I think that would maintain consistency when they struggle to keep the spine with the exact same cutoffs every time kind of
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, and on the backside, it's going to have a short description of the book. So
Yeah.
I'm going to have to play around with that in that other software with Amazon. Unless I could figure out the dimensions and just do it in Adobe Express, but I need to figure out, get in there, log in, and figure out what that software, how it operates. So, and there's also the spine. I'm going to have to design a little spine. Maybe just the same, just a continuation of this. It depends, but yeah.
Cool. Let's go on to Alan for status on the chapters. How you doing, my friend?
Well, I was doing great, and I got distracted. So I've been putting together the book in Word and doing some editing on it, and just getting it assembled like in the order we talked about at the last meeting. And then I got distracted. I got ahead of myself thinking about my video, and I found a piece of editing software that's really easy to use. And I put together something pretty fast, which I think I'll get faster and faster as we go. And I would like to share my screen and show that if I can. It's under 2 minutes, so it's not a lot of showing.
I'm trying to make you the host. I think
Okay.
that Art, you're going to have to do it. It's not.
Oh, because you're the host now. Right?
There's probably reclaim host. Okay, so I got it. Yeah, I'm gonna learn one of these days. So Alan, you are now the host.
Well, fantastic. Now I just got to find my desktop. Isn't there a button?
Laura,
There we go.
thanks for the encouragement as this old man learns how to press which buttons.
Well, I'll just kind of talk through this. Here we go. I've been coming up with the idea of posting every Thursday. So, I mean, I started on this project Thursday, and I did a couple of other projects with this software, and then I threw this together.
Alan,
And
are you sharing yet?
not sharing yet. Coming back to you. I went and opened the software.
Oh, I see.
Let's see. All right, so I've got the powwow, and I'm going to share my screen. Here's the software version. So just, I wanted to do Transhumanist Thursdays. So I started this, and then, but I also was going to do, the TUES, the upcoming Economic Singularity Day, Thursdays.
Hold on a second.
Tuesdays, rather. Yeah.
Hold on a second. Does anybody see what he's talking about?
I see a Filmora, Wondershare
Yeah.
Filmora,
Yeah, Fillmore.
video editing software.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, I don't know what I'm looking at, so please continue.
Okay, so anyway, just the history there. I wanted to post online on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I wanted to do Transhumanist Thursdays. That was my thing, right? It's alliteration. And then I was going to do Tuesdays. And so using the TUE, the upcoming Economic Singularity
Mhm.
-DAY Tuesday. And so I have some other projects. So I did a couple of hasty ones for other projects that were not critical, just to get the feel of it. And then I jumped in with this because it was Thursday. Well, it was Friday by the time I got to Thursday's thing. And Thursday I did the other projects. Then Friday I put this together. And then today I went back to working on the book. But anyway, so this, I'm just going to blow this up big. You guys got it full screen now, pretty much. And here's what's out on what I put out on the internet today.
You might have to change what window you're sharing because it's still the project layout, project media.
Wait, but what's that, Laura? Can you guys hear it too?
No. You
No
might have to
audio.
click on screen share and see what window you're sharing.
Gotcha. Let's see. Oh, it looks like I'm still sharing the other window, doesn't it? Okay. Let me stop sharing and I will start sharing again. Aha. Yep. Thank you. It changed screens. Okay. So that's 10 seconds in. Here we go. So Transhumanist Thursdays, number one. Can you hear it now?
No, and I'm wondering if there's an option to share audio as well. Options.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I'm still sharing my screen. Let's check. No, I'm not
Well,
stuck.
if you go to the microphone, there's a little up arrow. You can click on that. And
Right.
then let's see. Leave computer audio. That might be, I don't know, audio settings there. I just see audio settings. Good luck.
All right, so there's same as system microphone array, and there's microphone array, which is a smart microphone. All right, so let's quick. Okay, can you hear me at all?
Yes.
Okay. And then let me make sure it actually switched and then a change was made. According to the check, a change was made. I'm going to double check audio settings, speakers, microphones. Let's see. Original sound for musicians. That's not what we're doing. Okay. All right, let's try it one more time. And y'all give me a thumbs up if you can hear it this time. Let's see. Ooh.
I hear something. No, never mind. No, I heard
Yeah.
something. It sounded like a woman speaking.
Or an AI. Let's not judge. No, I'm kidding.
I get to tell jokes until it's figured out. How do you sell a duck to a deaf man?
How?
Hey, do you want to buy a duck? What's a pirate's favorite letter?
Is it R?
R, you'd think it'd be R, but his true love is the C.
Oh,
It's a pirate's favorite hobby. Yard work.
oh,
You better
quick,
figure out
Alan,
this
save
audio
us.
soon, Alan. The jokes are getting worse from here.
Yeah, I can't. I'm having trouble hearing you guys because I'm hearing the audio. Let's see. Okay, so I'm glad I missed all the jokes. Apparently,
No, you're not glad. You missed out. Good thing this is being recorded. You can go back. It's about minute
no,
26.
okay, well, this is taking us 5 minutes to get to a 2 minute video, but
How to
uh,
pirate.
I'm gonna just mute it and let you guys. It's got captions.
No, you be quiet. Your jokes aren't appropriate. Says you started screen sharing, but there's nothing there yet.
Well, You can probably hear it now in the back, my background. Can you hear it now?
Nope.
Hmm. I found it. Can you see this meme? Maybe you can't see this meme. Oh, it
Kinda
was
small.
like a Venn diagram, and it has pirates, Santa, and gangster rappers, and they all have the ho in common. Because the pirates say yo ho ho, and the Santa says ho ho ho, and the gangster rappers say yo ho. Okay. All I got is memes.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, Alan,
So-
you're on mute now. Maybe we can wrap up on the status on the book.
Yeah. Okay. So the status on the book is, yeah, I'm putting it all together and getting ready to get uploaded into the Amazon format, and then we'll move on from there. And I guess I'll have to synchronize with art to get the cover on the book. So, but I think we're getting close.
Very good. You let
Yeah.
us know when you're getting close to loading it onto Amazon. Okay, so that
Yeah. Yeah.
and I guess you tell me. I guess it's 100% in your hands on loading it into Amazon, right? You've got it.
Yeah, I've got it. So I tell you what, yeah, what I'll do is I'll probably call you guys as soon as I'm finished, right at, before New Year's, and just say, give it a quick look and see if you see any big glaring errors, or did I leave something out? So just to double
Perfect.
check.
Are,
Let
are
me,
we doing are we doing my stupid thing of wanting to make all the citations the same format?
uh, I don't think that's a stupid thing. I was not going to. If you want to, you can take those citations that are in the Word docs, and if
I
you
can do it this week. I will do it this week.
okay, well, I'm doing end notes for everybody's um, piece, right? I think that's what we talked about. End notes for each author rather than like a huge reference list at the end. And so if you format them the same, just do end notes for each one and pick a standard format, then I will cut what I got and insert what you've got.
And
So
it's going to be at the end of each chapter, right?
yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
said
I will
yeah,
I will send you the number of chapters that I count that are for end noting to start, and then go from there.
okay. Super, super.
Alan, one last
yeah.
little check I'd like to do, Alan, is all of the authors have completed their editing. Right now, it's completely in your court. No authors owe you anything at this point, right?
That's correct with as far as chapters go. I would like everybody to provide your like name, website, Instagram, whatever kind of social media contact you want in there. And I'm going to list this all at the front. I would like to list this all at the front of the book. And so yeah, I mean that would be awesome if you could get that to me. Yeah.
Okay. Make sure at least that Alora knows when you're going to be loading it in. That was something she at least
Yeah.
wanted to be observant of if she has time. Okay, so that do we have anything else left to discuss in the book, or can we move on to
Oh,
what was really the
I'm
topic
done
for
here.
tonight?
Yeah, let's move on from yeah.
Okay, so the topic was actually going to be about terms, and I think I've said before that I'm not really that concerned about definitions of terms. I was, by the way, just explaining to my wife that I remember when I was a young kid and finally got past the kids' dictionary and went in to look at a fairly common word. Was startled to see that one word had many very different meanings, and it was kind of like well, okay, everybody's got their own interpretation of what a word could mean, and so I'm not really that concerned about particular definitions, but what I did is I went in and looked at um, uh, all the definitions I could run across for economic singularity. So if you hold on a second, I'll try to figure out how to share this. And I did put it in Discord. I'm going to try to do this in presentation mode. I usually do not like presentation mode because it's hard for me to see what's coming up next, but this is what I did. Can you guys see my screen pretty well now?
Yes.
Yes.
So I only picked one term to discuss, and I thought that might be kind of useful since we've been focused on the economic singularity almost single-mindedly. So
pun.
anyway, pardon?
Sorry, go ahead. No pun intended. Go ahead.
So the list is in order for the ones that I'm collating here for what it could possibly mean. David's in here twice with his two different books. John von Neumann, I think he's the most brilliant man in the history of mankind. Ray Kurzweil, Callum Chase, David again, Daniel Susskind, Robin Hansen, and the dictionary. You got to add the dictionary. There's one that's a couple that are not listed that came off of web searches. And I'm going to have to. This is one of the problems that I have is, okay, there we go. That's better. All right. So I'm going to just read it out loud. This is not very long. So in the singularity principles, and David in this particular book is mostly talking about the technological singularity. Okay. So we're not necessarily talking about economic singularity here, but I thought it might be useful. He does a very good job in this book. So just quoting, before reviewing these alternative definitions, I'll state my own. In this book, the term the singularity refers to number one, a forthcoming unprecedented discontinuity in the history of humanity. Looks like I might accidentally clip stuff. Sorry, folks. Number two, triggered by the emergence of AIs that are comprehensively more intelligent than humans. Number three, with the change once it starts occurring in a relatively short period of time, lasting at most perhaps a decade. And number four, with outcomes that are practically impossible to foresee. All four elements of that definition are important. And if you don't mind, I'm going to just go through all of them before we have the discussion, just to see what everybody has to say. So von Neumann, if you don't know him, fantastic physicist, and actually was apparently quite knowledgeable about economics and history as well. He said, and this is like in the 50s, right? But this is like 70 years ago. He says, the accelerating progress of technology and changes in the mode of human life gives the appearance of approaching some essential singularity in the history of the race beyond which human affairs, as we know them, could not continue. Okay? So I thought that was, and if you're talking about 1950 something and you're doing this, you know, that was very impressive to me. So continuing in the singularity principles where David Wood is quoting different people on what they think the singularity is. Of course, you got to talk about what Ray Kurzweil says, right? So he says, here's how futurist Ray Kurzweil introduces the term in his best-selling 2005 book, The Singularity is Near. What, then, is the singularity? It's a future period during which the pace of technological change will be so rapid, its impact so deep, that human life will be irreversibly transformed. This epoch will transform the concepts that we rely on to give meaning to our lives, from our business models to the cycle of human life, including death itself. Key idea underlying the impending singularity is that the pace of change of our human-created technology is accelerating and its powers are expanding at an exponential pace. So, of course, what started my interest in this was reading the book by Callum Chase. So, what does he have to say about it in chapter 11? He says, and, I searched through, and Callum was very careful to not try to set aside a particular definition. This is the closest in the book that I could come to a definition. He says, we cannot be certain, but it looks likely that improvements in machine intelligence over the next few decades are going to make it impossible for most humans to earn a living. We would be wise to devote some resource to working out how to deal with this development in case it does happen. Indeed, we would be foolish not to. And I'll just confess that this paragraph is the one that started the OmniFuturist group. Because when I look around, no one's preparing. Okay. So in RAF 2035, which I thought was an excellent book, and my comment is in the upper right here, David Wood describes the suddenness of an entire economy switching from humanoid to robot labor as unknowable. Okay, so the thing I'm focused on in all of these is they have discussions on the pace of change. See, this is why I don't like presentation mode. Stupid thing. He is very clever in saying you can't tell if it's going to happen fast in a week or if it's going to take a decade. You just can't know it. All right. So I'll read the quote. Even though we cannot be sure of the timescales, we can make the following prediction. As AI improves, it's going to become increasingly hard for people who are displaced from one job by automation to quickly acquire new skills that allow them to carry out a different job that has no short-term threat of also being automated. Therefore, sooner or later, more and more people are going to find themselves unexpectedly out of work, or if not unemployed, underemployed. Without an adequate social safety net, their standard of living is set to fall. If we're not careful, more and more people will experience a large blow to their self-esteem and self-confidence. There will be more and more alienation, emotional distress, and anger. Daniel Susskind, I loved his book. And if you heard David, he thinks a lot about this book, okay? A World Without Work. The world of work comes to an end, not with a bang, but a withering in the demand for the work of human beings. So Daniel is very much in the case of he does not expect a rapid disassembly of our economy. He's seeing different groups of people getting picked off as AI can do their job more cost effectively. This one was very intriguing for me when I first started searching around. I didn't know this. And by the way, Robin Hansen's book, The Age of M, was hard to read. I didn't like it at all. But this was very good. And way back in 2008, I think it was very interesting. So he says, machine intelligence on a human level, if not higher, would do nicely. Its arrival could produce a singularity, an overwhelming departure from prior trends with uneven and dizzyingly rapid change thereafter, a future shock and future shocks. I hope to explain why it's reasonable to view past histories as a series of abrupt, seemingly unheralded transitions from one economic era to another, transitions marked by the sudden and drastic increase in the rate of economic growth. I will then show why another singularity is perhaps just around the corner. The next radical jump in economic growth seems more likely to come from something that has a profound effect on everything, because it addresses the one permanent shortage in our entire economy, human time and attention. And just, if you go click on that one, I've already put this presentation in the Discord for everybody. But I'll just say that if you read it, he goes through and he talks about the incredible rates of growth changes that occur in the agricultural revolution and the industrial revolution. And he's saying this is what marks your singularities, is incredible change in the rate of growth. It's a step function, if you guys are comfortable with step functions. Had to do the dictionary, forgive me. Okay, the state, fact, quality, or condition of being singular, or a point at which function takes an infinite value, especially in space-time when matter is infinitely dense, as at the center of a black hole. I think most of us know it's not going to be infinite, but I think what Robin is pointing to is a very rapid change in the rate of growth. That's the marker. And then two that I got off of the, just kind of web searches that I thought were what I always think of when I say economic singularity. The first one, AI and automation will destroy millions of jobs and devalue human labor. The second one, the potential massive unemployment caused by AI and automation outperforming humans in most jobs. Okay, so anyway, that's that was my, let's see if I can stop sharing. That was my version of options on the description or the definition of the economic singularity. And with that, I'll stop babbling. Comments?
John and Laura, how are you involved in this? Why is this ring true to you?
I'll believe it when every window in every restaurant is clean. I think that we can create jobs if there's a way to print money, because I see a lot of inefficiency. I see a lot of laziness. And if robots can fill every niche, great. And then I do think that that's a singularity because I can't see it. So, and then John had to say something about that.
The only reason I want machine parts is so I can work more and get more things done. It's supposed to uplift us, not take us over. I want an infinite memory and hydraulic arms.
So very much like the tech not being of itself, but to support us as individuals.
Cameras don't see things, people do, and we experience it. You can't have an experience through another thing's lens. It doesn't work that way. You can't touch things without having skin and hands to touch it. Machines can't have those experiences for us.
I'm just
Being
looking through
as
David Wood's
dictator.
book, Vital Foresight, and he's got a whole chapter called Singularity, and he's got a sub chapter here, like a little heading, and it says Becoming Gods. And I think that that's what is gonna happen. Like, I think that we're gonna empower ourselves so much that we're gonna feel that power. And I don't think that people will stop working. I think people will choose a mission, which is something that David Shapiro talks about, someone that I follow on YouTube, and I post like all his content to my Telegram channel because I just like the way he presents this idea of the like the post-labor economics. So yeah, I mean, I agree. I think if I had robot parts, I would find something to do that mattered. And so I think that the merger of us with AI is going to happen. The merger of us with each other in collective intelligence will happen far before we have an AGI. So this will allow us to get work done faster. And what John was saying while we were muted was, he's like, well, the first people to be like replaced are going to be basically like factory work and CEOs, because I mean, you sit in an office all day answering emails.
We never needed them.
Right.
So, I mean, he tied rebar for 11 years and it took a huge toll on his body. So if we can have robots that tie rebar, that might be good. But if we can just have humans that replace their parts as they break down, that might be better, because you eat a can of tuna with 30 grams of protein and a little bit of carbs and you can go all day. And can a machine go all day? Like, do we have the batteries that can run on solar that good? Not yet.
What about waste heat?
Huh.
All these running constantly. How's that gonna treat the globe? Like, where's this heat going? I generate a small portion of heat that just keeps my body warm. Machines won't. And it's not usable. That's why it's called waste heat. It can't be transformed back into useful work. It just goes out and it warms things up. That's all it does.
That's just like a huge problem for everybody.
And besides, every problem solved gives you more questions. There's no such thing as an end to
Sure.
learning. And every time we step up, there'll be more doors to be opened. So there will always be another task, another thing to learn.
Sounds like you read my nephew's
I-
essay. Yeah, that's
What's that one?
Michael Signs.
yeah, Mike. Yeah, the other Mike, Michael Signs.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, basically.
He's gonna
his
be
emphasis
our book.
was that his emphasis was that we just need to be educated differently than we are in the schools today. All right. So that's part of the strength of the OmniFuturists is we do have a variety of opinions on what should be done, if anything. Yeah.
What, Laura, what's that omissions thing that you said?
I'm not sure. What was the context?
I'm just completely blanking. Sorry. I'll come back to it.
Yeah, sure. I have this part of the book, this one, Vital Foresight. I really like David Wood's concept of the singularity shadow. I really like that because like the singularity,
Yeah.
the concept that we don't know what's coming just freaks people right out. And he says here, if anything, the concept of a technological singularity receives even more scorn than the concept of transhumanism. And that's true. Like, I mean, people, they really don't know what to expect. He says, the singularity shadow has a lot in common with the transhumanist shadow. Here are its key components. And he goes to say singularity timescale determinism, an insistence that narrow date ranges can be confidently predicted for the emergence of ultra-intelligent AI, singularity outcome determinism, an insistence that the outcome of the singularity is bound to be overwhelmingly positive for humanity. So like there's no guarantee that it could be. And that's what we're talking about now is that if AI, if like we have no more jobs, what will happen with society? And it is a future shock. It's a form of culture shock.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think
but yeah,
David Wood's this whole discussion of the sort of the shadow of the concept. I was in a situation today where I had to quote Seneca. So by golly, I'll just make it twice in one day. But yeah, he said we suffer more in our imaginations than we do in reality, right? This idea that we dread
yeah.
doing stuff, right? And and he talks about like the shadow of the singularity. Some people are there's whatever actually happens with the singularity. There's all of the concepts that people are moving forward with as we approach it. Some pro, some con, some extreme, some workable or whatever. But yeah, and it's those concepts that really, it's not the concept itself or the actual singularity. It's all of the different things that humans are running around doing to either prepare or not prepare, right? Which can be either way. We might be stepping on a landmine, so to speak. And I think that's
Alan, bring your camera down a bit. Bring your camera down a bit. There we go.
go.
That's too much. There we go. But yeah.
The constant is change.
Yeah, the only constant is change. Man, Stoic quotes will never go out of style. Yeah.
Art, I'd like to hear what you think.
Part of the term economic singularity.
Yeah.
I think the way we're using it is fine. I think it fits. I mean, AGI, singularity, technological singularity is is almost, is geared, the definition is geared like towards AGI or the actual, the general intelligence. So once that happens, then you don't know what's going to happen afterwards.
Right.
Is it gonna just take over? Is it gonna help us create magical technology that we don't have right now? But until then, people are going to be replaced by machine learning. The dumber stuff, the dumber AI. So, and that's already happening. And the dumb AI is going to put people out of work, and that's going to be all happening throughout until that AGI happens. And yeah, I'm fine with the economic singularity.
Yeah, I think I need to emphasize that we're definitely not in this group talking much about the technological singularity.
Right.
When you get to artificial superintelligence, machine superintelligence, that's not really what we're focused on. And what Callum was emphasizing in his book was that a lot of these narrow intelligences are going to be a lot more cost effective than humanoids. And that's where the job loss occurs. And it happens before the miracle of the, godlike artificial intelligence that we have dramatic losses in jobs. And I think one of the comparisons is to the Great Depression. The other would be if you think about the loss of jobs in the steel belt in America when offshoring occurred. Globalization decimated American male manufacturing jobs. And so the question would be if some of these things a little bit past the chat GPT we have now, if that takes away a lot of these bullshit paperwork pushing jobs, how many people are going to be out of work and what do they do about it? We're definitely not trying to predict when or how the economic singularity would occur. It's a question of if it were to occur, how are we preparing for it? What are we going to do about it? It's like, imagine you were in America in 1925 and you had an indication that the Great Depression was coming. Could you have prepared for it? Did people really have to go 10 years of not having any good jobs? This is just the question before the group is this worth preparing for? So let me move on to Cam. Cam, what do you think of the economic singularity definitions?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think that would be a good part of an introduction to kind of make everything that follows more clearly. But yeah, the economic singularity, it's not going to be a straight line. There's going to be action and reaction. It's going to come in steps. And we don't know what the reaction is going to be. If people start to lose their jobs, and then because it's cheaper to hire a robot, well, then labor costs go down. Well, now it's cheaper to hire a human. But at that point of time, there's going to be social chaos, and there's another reaction. And who knows, that might just throw a wrench into the whole thing, and there may not be any more technological progress if society melts down. So
Right.
it is unpredictable. It's not a straight line. Like most singularities are like a waterfall, right? But this waterfall can go backwards sometimes, and we don't know. We don't know how it's going to end.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to say that one of the concerns is although good people like John and Alora are hardworking, they're focused, and they're going to keep working, they are unusual. At least as I think through the people I went to high school with.
Calling the rest of us lazy? Is that what you're saying, John?
I'm trying to say that outside of this group, that the vast majority of humanoids are just kind of doing the minimum to get by and kind of pay the bills, and they really want to watch football or comedy, or play gaming, and they really don't care about cutting a path through the forest. Okay, there's people like Alora and John who are going to find something interesting to do no matter what happens with a robot horde. I'm more worried about the kind of hopeless, helpless, don't know what they're doing people that I went to high school with, that, if the job goes away and then they don't have any food, then basically they're just looking for a handout. And my concern is if the wave of permanently technologically unemployed is so colossal, it'll swamp the U.S. federal budget, and that they won't actually be able to support the peoples. And so that's my concern is really for the commoners that, they're just pushing paperwork at the local company. And when that company is having simple AIs do the paperwork now, what are they going to do? Okay. So, Ben, you're up, man. What do you think of all this?
We're idealists, aren't we? I mean, this is like a comment from a minute and 20 seconds ago now, but like we really are very like, oh man, the system is so close to working perfectly for everybody. I mean, is this for truth, or are most people like, God damn it, I got to do this goddamn job, and this is the most money I can make off of whatever my 40 hours can get me, and then I can get the fuck out of there and not have to think about the shit for the rest of my life on Earth. I mean, like, but we might like feel good about what we do and things. Like, how are we just so idealistic about like we're doing the shit we want to do, and how does everybody else not see the way we are seeing this kind of thing?
Ben, let me respond to you. I see your hand up, Alora. Just give me 1 second here. Now, I work at Boeing, and they're well-paid, good benefit engineers, right? We work in aerospace. I swear to God, 80% of those guys hate their job. And they got one of the comfiest, easiest, well-paying jobs in the universe. And they hate coming into work. Now, I'm weird. I have always loved my job. I've worked for 40 years in aerospace, and I want to work 25 more. I want to work till I'm 85. So go ahead, Ben.
I feel so sad for people that have like 40 hours in their week and they fucking hate it. That's terrible. That's
They
like
hate
half
it.
your life times
They-
40 years. I just
they-
like want to cry for them. Like, work can be awesome. I mean, like, if you're in a mine shaft, I get it. But oh my God, like a quarter, like a half of your awake life should be more pleasurable than holy shit. I'm here on Monday morning and I'm crying because I have a week ahead of me. That's so miserable.
Hold
Like,
on,
how do we
Laura.
make
Just
that existence better for people?
yeah, hold on 1 second, because when I started 40 years ago, of course, the directors would be dropping F-bombs, red-faced in your face, screaming at you because you weren't on time. Okay. They're not allowed to do that anymore. Okay. So now you talk about how comfy it is. You're not allowed to be critical of people. You're not allowed to put them down. You know, I don't understand why you wouldn't like your job. Okay. So Alora, please go.
John's like, I don't even get lunch breaks.
What?
I love it too. You know why people are unhappy? They forgot what dirt smells like. You got to get in there. And I know many miners, and they don't hate their lives. They
There
love
was
it.
a-
I've been in a uranium mine myself. It's a great time. They're good people.
John, there was a recent case up here where construction workers were complaining because no one would give them porta potties and they were taking a dump in the woods. And it
Yeah,
was a big case because it was like, well, we didn't promise you'd have a bathroom or whatever. You got a spot, go take a dump, and I work next to these guys. Well, okay, so John and Laura, keep going. What else? did you want to
there's
say?
actually an invention for a hitch for your truck that's a toilet seat. So when we're out in the middle of nowhere, you can just, put it in the hitch and have a little sit down if you need.
You know how you can afford a porta potty for your site? Fire a CEO.
You can have that.
But see,
Bumper sticker.
back to Ben's point, how idealist are we? Because you guys are straight out of Ayn Rand, Fountainhead, or Atlas Shrugged. Here is, we're gonna power through no matter what. We're determined to conquer. And you know what? You are not the same as the vast majority of Americans. They give up and whine and complain about the littlest little thing.
Well, it's like like I've had really hard jobs where it's just go, go, go. And now I'm in a job where it's like there's a nice office where there's coffee 24/7. Like there's coffee all the time there, and it's like my bosses have pointed out that, we can tell that you've been in jobs where you've had to find something to do all the time. And I got a compliment from a coworker just this week. She goes, I really like the way you clean. And it's like, because I hold myself to high standards, that I'm going to work even when people aren't like directly watching me. I'm going to do a good job because that's what's That's what I expect of myself. And I pride myself on being efficient, you know? And so like there's lots of solutions to this. Like I learned organic farming in Hawaii, living on a commune. And I know how hard it is to live with people. But there's a lot of easy ways to feed chickens with weeds from a pond and crack open coconuts that fall off the tree. But we're in a really cold place where it's not really feasible. And so there would be a different way of surviving the economic singularity.
We don't even eat half the food that's available to us. Most of us don't even know what we're walking on when we're moving around. I've learned a lot of survivalist stuff just because I'm interested, and we waste it. There's enough food for everybody. There's definitely 110% enough food for everybody. If we want to feed them, we can feed them. If they need to work, they need to work. It's really up to the individual what they're going to do. You can give up. Oh, life's hard. I mean, who's going to feed me? That ain't the right answer. You got to feed your own mouth.
And honestly, like I think we saw some of this last winter. I remember it being a big deal that people in Germany couldn't pay their heating bills. And I think that the government just sent them checks. Like, I mean, here in Canada too, like we had a hard time paying bills because of COVID, and we all got money. And so yeah, that's a different story. In order to keep people quiet and stop them from protesting and whatever, the government would just give them money. So like I really want to hear this idea of the negative income tax or the UBI, because it would cost Canada 50 billion annually to install UBI for everybody. And then we'd be paying back into crown corporations mostly. And then but at the same time, it's 50 billion for mental health. And so if people weren't working, would their mental health get better? Can we fix that first? And then the money can come from these social programs that we maybe need because some people can't exist in a work environment. I don't know. Because yes, we have moved into a point in time where we can't have a toxic work environment. But
to both of you, I'd like to say that part of what my chapter was about is I assume that the American government is not going to be ready for this. And therefore, one way to do it is to gather them together on organic farms so that they can feed themselves and co-house.
Yeah,
it's a structured approach to, okay, instead of, okay, I think Alan's raising his hand and shouting, so I better let him in. Alan, you're on mute. Go ahead.
No, just the way you said that. You're talking about the 500 who are at the top there, the Congress and the Senate. Those are the ones you want to put on an organic farm and then let them sort it out. or are we back to doing the homeless people who are displaced by economic singularity? I think you've got the place to start now is with the government. Yeah, that's the.
Well, remember Alora's solution was cyberocracy, and she's going to write a chapter on that for the next year's book. So this will be, she and David Shapiro are on this trend of replace all the politicians with AI. And I think I just put in Discord an article about one of these guys. I think it was in Brazil, maybe it was Argentina. He had AI write a bill that they voted on and enacted. And so he's actually trying to sneak in cyberocracy on the sly. He's having the AI write the law, having the humanoids vote on it and put it into place. So there's work getting done where people are thinking, you know, these fools, replace them all with oligocracy or cyberocracy. So.
Well, okay. Actually, the reason I had my hand up there, although I really thought when you said, yeah, what we need to do is put those guys on farms. I've got a couple of senators from Texas for you. But, earlier, way back, we were discussing, how smart our machines get. And there's sort of a point to like not make machines smarter than they need to be. Right. There's a local guy lives here. He's an Arab guy and he wants to create smart toasters. And it's like nobody will back. He's got blueprints. He's done he's figured it out. He's using cell phone technology. But I don't need to text my phone before I leave the office. I mean, text my toaster before I leave the office to have my flatbread heated up appropriately. I mean, it's just, we don't need them that smart, really. It's a toaster for crying out loud.
Actually, interesting point is that if you do get to human level intelligence with these machine intelligences, do they start getting rights? And therefore, you may want to intentionally make sure that they do not have any capacity for conscious thought, that they just kind of do what they're told. And that way, they'll never have any rights. They'll have no voting rights. They'll have no taxation rights. They'll have no real powers except do the work for us. And
Well,
then,
that's kind of where we're going with our public education system right now. Just, but hold on, let me get to these other 2 points. I've been
okay.
So back to the work thing. I mean, yes, I've been working in situations, especially when I went from being kind of a soldier in a line, what we call line unit, a unit that's designed to go fight, to becoming in the what we call the echelons above reality, which is all the staff officers that do things like figure out whether or not we should purchase a plane from Boeing or not. And people would tell me like, "Oh, whoa, slow down, cowboy. We got to do a certain amount of work here." And it's like, but just the other day, I was volunteering at the food bank, right? So I'm looking around, just what else? They got a lot of things broken here. They got a whole conveyor belt system that's broken, so they have a substitute system to move boxes. It's like, what if they just fix that? I'm just kind of looking around. Anyway, the sink is just a steady stream of dripping water. So I finished my water bottle that I had, standard, whatever it is, Dasani 20 ounce, whatever. And I just put it under the dripping thing and timed it with my phone. And I went in and I went to the manager and I said, "Oh, here, I want you to feel this." And of course, her first response was, I thought it was kind of interesting because her response was, "Oh, sorry, we don't, they probably just put it in the fridge. It's not cold yet." I'm like, whoa, that's not what I'm not here to complain about the water not being cold. But it was like she had heard all that before. I could tell, right, by her automatic response. And I was like, no, that warm bottle of warm water, I held up my phone. That's what you're losing, every minute and a half out of your leaking sink out there. And she was like, "Oh, is that?" Oh, she was kind of shocked. She goes, "Is that?" And then she wanted to be walked out. That's, "Oh, yeah, right here." "Oh, we were supposed to have had that fixed." It's like, she says, "Let me call the guy that fixed it and see if they'll come back out." And I said, "Okay." And anyway, I just thought it was weird because just her like automatic response was, "Oh, it's probably just hadn't been in the refrigerator very long." We have, it's like, come on, you're giving me a free water while I'm volunteering here. I don't have a problem with that at all. I think it's crazy is that you're draining 20 ounces of water out of your sink every minute and a half or whatever it was, 2 minutes almost.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's indicative of the kind of work mindset that we've got. Now, yeah, I'm sure I had one more point that I wanted to really get in, but that time has passed. Had too many more cents. So I'll just leave it at that. But I do think, oh, it was back to John's comment about getting rid of the CEOs and the laborers. Back in the 90s, the basic computer wiped out middle management and created a bunch of clerks because the computer could do all of that bringing in and gathering together and analyzing the data that middle managers had been doing by getting reports from their subordinates, going through the numbers and figuring out, oh, this is working, well, this is not working well. And now those same reports could go into the computer and it would just print you an answer, right? And yeah, I just remember that kind of whole hollowing out of the middle section of companies. And we basically staffed them with more data entry people of one form or
So
another.
on that note, I want to see if John, this intense hatred of CEOs, which I think is shared by most workers. What I'm proposing in my chapter is actually worker owner co-ops. So
Yeah,
you would have managers. You have to have somebody kind of like leading. But I think that one of the things that we do need to do is get rid of the oligarchy. And one of the fountains of the oligarchy is the executive class. They graduate from Harvard and then they just kind of come into the CEO positions. The executives are not doing what they need to be doing. A lot of times they seem to be more problematic than helpful. So anyway, I agree with you on a number of these aspects. And I know that I've told you guys before that I invested in an artificial general intelligence company. It's a startup. And what they were focused on was primarily CEO executive suite positions that this AGI would be able to make executive decisions. So anyway, I think that that's a ripe area. You know, the ridiculous pay and benefits that they get should be replaced by automation. Well, we're way over. Anybody have any other comments before we go?
Wait, I have a question. We were talking about the book initially, and then we wanted to get that out of the way to get to what you said was the real reason of the call. And other than just talking about the singularity, I'm not sure what else.
Well, here's the request that we had the last time we were together, is that several people wanted to talk about terms. Okay, and so definitions and agreement on what terms mean. Now,
gotcha.
You saw that, and we'll have
terms.
to do this. We'll have to go over this again because all we did was mine. But Ada had provided Tom Ross's list of definitions. What happened is we spent 35 minutes on book status, and so we're kind of out of time. So what we could do is continue the discussion on terms. If there's interest, maybe Ada can make it to the next one, and we can go through Tom Ross's definitions. It's just an option, right? So you asked, what was the purpose? Well, the agenda for today was all to have open discussion on terms to try to get some sort of consensus. So we only got through one term, basically.
Terms like definitions of what singularity means?
Yes. And so the question was, when we say something like we're working on the economic singularity, what does that mean? And so what I did is I gave you a series of descriptions from different authors, different times. I'm okay with all of them. Okay. The question is, do we want to drive some sort of consensus over time that what this group, when we say the term economic singularity, do we mean one thing? Is it a dozen different things? I don't know. I'm not trying to drive this. It was other people wanted to have open discussion, a good open discussion on common terms. Okay.
Here was my concern about the commonality or discontinuity of terms. And that was, I had a vision of every chapter, each author having to say, here's my definition of a singularity, and then go through that, right? And I thought that's going to be brutal on the reader, right? If they say, well, before I can explain to you about, negative income tax, or before I can explain to you about the art works, program or whatever, the National Art Program, also known as the NAP. But before I can explain about that, I've got to explain about what the economic singularity is and why it's a thing. And so I just wanted to,
But Alan, when I read the chapters, I didn't see that happening.
No, I agree. I didn't see that happen. Yeah, good. Yeah. So,
but I think that Alora also was asking about this because, that there is some fuzz on the terms. And the question would be, do we want to have a consensus or an understanding as a group of what this basic term means? I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. You guys keep going.
I think that it's just good to talk, and yeah, if we're part of a group, we should meet once in a while and just talk about terms. And like, I've got a PDF file here that I find really interesting. It's called Laws of Singularity by Reginald Grunenberg, PhD, published in Berlin.
Post it. Yeah. You got a link to it, or?
I
Is it
can
on your
post
desk?
it in the Discord. I'll post it in the Discord. But he's got like rules about what he thinks the singularity will be. And he uses Kantian philosophy. But he says his fourth law is any singularity will reverse entropy. And I think it's so cool because he brings up Isaac Asimov's short story, The Last Question, where the human race builds the supercomputer multivac in 2061 to ask it a single question. How can the net amount of entropy of the universe be massively decreased? The answer is disappointing. The computer says, insufficient data for meaningful answer. So humans build more advanced versions of multivac and ask it time and time again through the eons. And the answer is the same for millions, billions, and trillions of years. And then
Finally,
when
it's turn off
humanity
all the computers. Yeah.
and then when humanity fades out together with the last stars, it asks the same question to AC, the ultimate descendant of multivac. Yet when AC has a result that is already in hyperspace, humanity is gone and the universe is dead. Not content to be left alone with the answer, AC decides to demonstrate it, for the answer creates also someone to give the answer to. So AC says, let there be light, and there was light. And I think that's just so cool. But yeah,
Was
like,
Asimov?
yeah, I will link you the short story because guess what? That's on YouTube too. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, audiobook. So yeah, it's cool. Here, I'll open up Discord.
Yeah, I just remembered the other thing I wanted to address briefly, and that is the trouble people have understanding, like the economic singularity. It starts with our inability to understand exponential curves and how every exponential curve that's truly exponential becomes a straight vertical line. And so at that point, you have a singularity. I mean, that's just you can't math your way out of that. You're just kind of stuck until you hit the wall. And so I think there's part of that. That's the first kind of fundamental portion of it. And then there's a variety, like we were talking about earlier, about the shadows of the concept being what we really argue about and not the thing itself. Well, we're getting rain. All right, good. Um, so anyway, yeah, all that aside, I think there's anything we can do to help people understand the vastness of the problem would be
I mean,
good.
from us changing from an economy based upon employment to not. That's what the economic singularity is, in my opinion. And how are we making our society ready to handle that transition?
That makes
I
sense
think
to me.
there's
That makes sense
I
to
think
me.
there's way more than that because
Yeah,
Sure.
what if we create a bunch of jobs we haven't ever envisioned before? I mean,
That
I met a
too.
woman the other day. She is a AI trainer. She gets paid fairly well to go help corporations that have their own AIs, train them to do what they want it to do.
but I think the key indicator for you to watch is the computer programmers, in which already, and we are far from where it's really going to go, the programmers are getting the AI to write the software. You know, if you get that sort of a cycle going, then there's going to be very little limit to what is going to be accomplished by AI and robotics, and much more cost effectively. And then the question that this is just a transition question. How do people get enough money to survive? That's it. There's a point at which perhaps you got flourishing abundance and everybody is well taken care of and they can do their hobbies, right? The concern is that if too many people lose their jobs because they cost too much, how do they survive? That's really the key. And so what Ben is talking about is really the crucial aspect. If we're going from a place where humans have to work in order to live to a point at which they can't work, then how do they live? It's kind of basic, right? That
Well,
transition, what Ben's talking about, is the problem. It won't be a problem for some people who like are survivalists, like John. John will go out into the forest and he'll find some mushrooms and kill a bear and he'll be fine. Okay. The rest of us, the rest of the folks, most of them living in cities, how in the hell are they going to survive? Okay. You got millions of people. I'm starting to make connections, for instance, in Brazil. And the Brazilians are going to be part of our bioshelter effort. Sao Paulo is where Boeing has a new division. I'll be traveling down there in June to meet with these engineers who I'm working with now. Sao Paulo has 35 million goddamn people in that city. 35 million. Okay. If they get upended in their jobs because the robots do it better than even they do at their wages, how in the hell do they eat? Okay. Laura and John, of course, they live out in the middle of nowhere. You know, they can find some rural area and grow their own food.
You know, we can crush up crickets and make protein powder with it and make it taste like chocolate milk.
yes, Greta Thunberg
Hey.
recommends it.
Hey,
Yeah.
seriously, Alan, do you remember Soylent Green?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you
That's
ever see
another
that movie,
Asian-
Laura? You seem too young to know that one.
I did though. I did watch it.
You know,
Yeah.
we can eat the dead bodies of the people around us once they're processed, right? Jesus.
The ocean is very large. There's lots of things out there we can eat. That's why I brought up the diversity of food, is because we're focusing on certain staples when there's many, many, many
Right.
things we can eat. So
Yes.
there's many mouths, but there's just as much food to be had. We just
Sure,
got to
but-
span out and find it.
Yeah, but
Like, I'm
John,
not opposed to talk
yeah,
about
but see,
Disney.
John, some of those people who are going to think that they're eating a yummy mushroom, it'll turn out it's a death cap and they're dead.
Not if they're
You,
hanging out with somebody with the information ahead of time.
that's a lot of ifs for some of the city folk. Have you talked to any of these people? They don't know anything about anything. Okay.
My reach is as far as my arms go, I can't affect everybody.
Right.
can't-
That's right. Right.
And so all we're trying to do, John, is say for those of them who are not survivalists, who live in cities and lose their job pushing paper, is there no plan or are they just on
Well,
their own?
I would suggest those people are equally survivalist. The thing is they have collectively worked at building massive plumbing systems to provide everybody with fresh water. So what you're suggesting is that either there's money or you just have to do it for yourself. And I'm thinking that there's a whole variety of things in between there, right?
Okay. And this is
We
the
will-
point of the OmniFuturists, is to make sure that we get a lot of different opinions, not just Mike's.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Right.
Laura. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, you will need big business mitigation strategies for this. You will need the wastewater companies to start tackling the forever chemicals. You will need the people at the landfills to make sure that they're not smoldering underground like is happening in California right now. We need to figure this out.
Yeah.
So it's professionals that are good at their jobs that have to do some of this.
Right.
You know,
I think
so and
I think one of the things that you have mentioned, Laura, that I'm pretty focused on is the homeless. So
Mhm.
this is a type of person that a lot of them are not drug addicted or mental illness. A lot of them were just at the bottom rungs of the economy, had a kind of minimum wage job, and something went wrong, and now they can't pay their rent and they're out. Okay, they're kind of normal people. I'm not talking about the fringy psycho ones that always get emphasized with the homeless. I'm talking about just normal people who had just a little bit of bad luck. And
Yeah, like your car broke down and now you don't have the right app to do a ride share, you know?
Here in Canada, there's a thing called Labor Ready. I've actually been close to that place in my life before, and they will actually give you a day job and pay you at the end of the day, so you can do day labor until you get. All you need is a social insurance number, and they'll pay you. And they'll even give you an address.
is this a government program?
I I think partially, but they do take a cut of your wage. So they'll
Yeah.
put me out at an hourly rate and
Right.
keep a portion of it.
Yeah,
So I
and
don't
that's,
know
by
how
the
much
way,
government.
John, that's a really smart program that I emphasize when, for instance, David Wood sometimes is puzzled by my pessimism. The Europeans tend to have, as the Canadians do, excellent social safety nets. For when things do kind of go a little crookedy, okay, there's a way for you to get back on the path to, prosperity. In America, we like saying, for whatever reason, we're hung up on this idea that you pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, and that if you're homeless, you're living in that. You guys watch those tent cities on the news, the people living on the sidewalk in a tent. It's their own fault. And I think that that's really lazy thinking.
Yes.
And my concern, and I say this in my chapter in the book, I'm focused on America because I think we're not going to give a goddamn about the people. Okay. Until it's like the Great Depression, 10 years after people have been really struggling and starving, then a program is put into place, WPA programs. So
I think in some ways we're living through something that's worse than the Depression ever came close to be very honest.
there are some very good articles about what they're calling maybe the silent depression, the silent recession, the hidden recession, that there are a lot of things that are being kind of hidden. And I'll give you one example I always use with Zach Richardson, my good friend. He tends to be a very libertarian and pro capitalism. He said, you'll point out that unemployment rate here is like 3.7%, but the labor participation rate with American males of working age is only 65%. That means 35% of US men between 25 and 55 are not working.
How many are
Here's what you
full-time
get for
students?
putting fluoride in the water. No, I'm kidding.
Laura, go ahead.
Well, because if you get a student loan, it's sometimes easy to just coast. Like you have a warm building to stay in for the winter. And so you're just a student and it's hard. Like, I mean, there were times I was just paying people of a house $200 so I could live in a room, or a section of the basement cordoned off by curtains. So, I mean, yeah, like how many of those people are trying to get ahead? They're trying, but they're actually accumulating debt. So they're never going to be able to afford a mortgage because they'll go from living in a transient state to paying off a student loan. They won't be able to afford a mortgage.
Right.
So
Well,
we've given up on it.
Let me just
Debt comes first,
Yeah. Let me just conclude on the participation rate. In the 50s, the American male participation rate was over 90%. It has declined 30% in the last 70 or so years. But, there's something very wrong with what's going on in American capitalism. And partly, I've always been misled by GDP. Because the overall American economy grows, there's been parts of me that I've always expected that everybody's boat was rising, and it has not.
Right.
And I think it's about to get dramatically worse is my concern. I hope I'm wrong, but that's my concern.
Only about 30% of the people ever do any of the work anyway, even when we're on a site. So I got a lot of people just watching. So
The 2080 rule sometimes feels like 1090, doesn't it?
yeah.
We've had this discussion at work where most of them are just kind of taking up space, right? Not very involved, don't really care. And then there's some people who are just trying to slay dragons at work, and they'll just do anything to make it happen. So, it's and see, I think that the reason I keep pointing out that the majority of people really aren't that engaged, we might all be. This might be a self-selected group that is real hard chargers, but most people really don't give a shit. They're just trying to kind of make it to the next day.
They will when their belly.
Go ahead.
So they'll care when their belly's empty. They'll try hard then.
Right.
Or complain
That's
that
why I
the
try to
government
stay.
is, or complain that the government is not taking care of them like they ought to, right? I mean, a lot of it is projected blame onto somebody else sometimes, right? In this case, I'm just trying to say this may truly be beyond their control. No matter how hard they work, no matter how smart they are, they may not be able to get a job because they cost way too much to be competitive anymore. And this is the crux of the concern that I have, is that even well-meaning and hardworking people may not be able to get enough to feed themselves. Okay, that's the concern. Now, I'm a general pessimist. I tend towards the negative. My viewpoint is kind of pessimistic. Maybe it's not going to be this bad. But as has been pointed out by like Callum Chase, if we can see this thing coming and we do nothing to prepare, that's bad on us. Alan, your hands up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of struck me as you were talking about the difference between, these people that are no longer looking for a job for whatever reason. I mean, they're surviving. So really we're already, in a sense, automating these people out of a job. We're able, I mean, the US food market produces 200 times the amount of, 200, two times the amount of 200%, but two times the amount of food that we actually eat here. And so some of that's shipped, but a lot of that is just thrown away as waste, right? Because the tomato is not rosy red enough, or the pear is not pear shaped. So those just go in a bin. They just toss them out. So I mean, I think we're already, just with the capacities that we have now, and we're able to keep people on the payroll that work 8 hours a day, or that are present 8 hours a day and do 2 to 3 hours of work. And
Well,
I mean, maybe
here-
the value of that 3 hours of work is really what they're getting, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a concern that I have, and this is something that Alora was talking about a little bit when she mentions negative income tax and UBI. I've done some good calculations on if the unemployment rate reaches some of the things I'm talking about, how much would it cost to provide UBI? And I'm talking about just the $1,000 a month, which is poverty level if you've got no other income, right? There's no way that the American federal budget can handle high rates of unemployment. They're handling, as you're pointing out, there's a lot of people now who are not participating in the work environment, but are still living. What I'm trying to say is I think it could get a lot worse really quickly, and then we wouldn't have enough money to provide those sort of basic food requirements. There's a financial problem here if you try to institute a UBI. And I hope that next year's book, I'm going to write a chapter on negative income tax. And that's a different way of trying to support people who've lost their job while people still get to work when they enjoy their job and can still work, right? I do have a one other thing I want to talk about next year's book. Ben has mentioned that he wants to write a chapter. Dr. Sharif wants to write a chapter. I did run into some folks in technocracy who may want to write a chapter, and then I'm going to make sure that Alora writes about cyberocracy. Okay, so we've got like 4 or 5 new chapters for next year's book. So I'm looking forward to it, Alan.
yes, yeah, me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're way over. Does anybody want to continue it? Is there something more on your mind, Alora? You look like you want to talk about something.
Ben was asking, I would figure Canadians are less pessimistic than Americans care to weigh in, you two. And it's some days are really optimistic and some days are really hard. And I choose optimism as my identity because I have to feel good about what's happening right now. So when I say I'm learning about the future and I'm choosing to be a singularitarian because I want to believe that this will lift us out. This is the Archimedean point, you know, we need this. We need technology to lift us out.
Right.
And, you know, I read Ray Kurzweil and I do believe that it will help. I just don't know how long, but it's not hopeless because, you know, like John said something today that was like blew my mind, but I repeated it in the Telegram group, Mike, and it was that we're an iteration of the first thing that ever lived, that was ever conscious, that ever, you know, so it's just going to take, you know, it might take incarnations for it to get better. And if I have to go through this now so that my kids can have a better life, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, I will be an early adopter of this technology so that we can get them, you know, into the future.
Well, that's just because you want to be a cyborg. But wait, I want to say something and make sure everybody understands clearly. I'm probably the most pessimistic of everyone on this. I expect this economic singularity to only last a certain amount of time. I'm thinking like on the order of 10 years, after which I expect us to start entering the era of flourishing abundance. I think that by that time that your artificial superintelligence is going to have so much far superior intelligence to mankind that there'll be some really good solutions. We don't have to work anymore. The ASI is driving the robotics and the production and the distribution properly, and we'll all be fine. The question I have is, how do we survive this transition from... Go ahead.
We need the infrastructure. We need the infrastructure. They're just starting to build more nuclear power now, and I'm happy about that. We're utilizing more hydro. When I look around, the thing that makes me pessimistic is seeing all the garbage. I can't turn it off. I see all the garbage. And I'm like, this is everywhere. We're eating it.
Alora,
becoming microplastics.
Yeah, Alora, you
So-
need to watch the YouTube video that I put on for Sharif. And it's about a guy over there in Bangladesh who's coming up with jute bioplastics. But the reason I want you to watch the video, it's only like 10 or 15 minutes long, is there's a section in there where they talk about the folks in Dhaka throwing away the single-use plastics. Where do they throw it? They throw it in the river, and they now have a 3-meter thick layer of plastic bags in the river in the city. I have never seen such a disaster.
It's the cyberpunk utopia. That is what we'll go through to get to the other side, whether that's a solar punk utopia or not. We're gonna see what comes of this, but
it was amazing. I had no idea. Bye, Cam.
Bye.
Take care.
I have my pessimism too. I have those days, but
Yes.
I just remember that, you know, we will find a way to turn that back into usable stuff, hopefully. You know, and if not, well, we need to escape the heat death of the universe, so maybe we'll find another
Okay. Really briefly before we go, I'd like to see if we want to get together next Saturday. That was a yes for Ben. Alan?
I'm fine. Yeah,
Art? Yeah. Alora, I couldn't see you. You and John going to join us next Saturday? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
sure. You don't have
All right.
anything really going on? So.
Well, let's talk about agenda. Do we want to focus on book, on buyer shelter, or on terms? I don't care. Tell me. What do you want, Alora? Ask John. Ask John what he wants to do.
Terms, because I'm outside of a lot of this, so people use things that I don't understand. So for me to even comprehend what people are saying to me, terms might be a good place to start.
And this will give Ada a chance to talk through Tom's deck. If you guys haven't looked through it, it's a lot of different versions of machine intelligence, artificial intelligence, and some of those terms. So yeah, let's do terms again. I enjoyed this discussion. We won't do anything on the book, and we'll devote the entire time to just talking about terms and things that we're interested in. Fair?
Fair. When it comes to
Yeah.
bioshelter, there's a lot of terms there that we should go over because like John knows about resources a lot. So it would be nice to bring him into that too.
Oh, I do have a update on bioshelter. Besides the Brazilians that I'm starting to develop, Dr. Sharif was in Western Australia and he's got some connections there. He thinks that that's a very good place. And when I looked at Western Australia, they've got a lot in common with Canada. And I'm starting to see these pairings on fiber crops. Not only do you guys have flax, of course, which I knew nothing about, and then hemp. And that's what we talked to that University of Saskatchewan professor about was hemp. But apparently both Australia and Canada do a lot of canola. And canola is another one of those oil seeds with fibers. And there are some new companies that are getting involved with bio oils from that, biochar from that. Some of them are in Alberta, some of them are in Edmonton, some are in Saskatoon. Got to say it that way. Okay. Now, the other pair is Bangladesh and Brazil, both kind of tropical jute and cashew. So, then we've got Ben Balwig. He has been talking a lot about some of the homeless shelter initiatives in his area in Madison, Wisconsin. We got him involved because the Louisiana sugarcane bagasse bioplastics with ADA, the co-author was somebody from Madison, Wisconsin. So Ben and I are starting to talk about options there. My preference is to go for biochar from cow manure, which the dairy farms throughout Wisconsin, I know because I used to smell it. I grew up in northern Illinois. The dairy farm is just putrid smells all the time. So we got to do something about that methane coming off those dairy farms, Ben. So bioshelter, there's a lot of good stuff coming. Okay. All right.
Yeah, hey, and Mike, one of the things that if it would be actually useful, I think, just to publish a glossary about terms, right? I mean, because and also a list of, I was just about to type this all in the chat, just a list of the elements. So I can look around here in Fort Worth, Texas and say, all right, we got biomedical folks, we've got an engineering school nearby, we've got this, we've got cow patties, we've got whatever it is. Alfalfa. I don't know if that's a fiber plant or not, but they grow a lot of it here. And so, I mean, I think it's about connecting the right people in the network, academics, and doing it at various local regions, right? There needs to be a Saskatoon version and a Louisiana version of sugar crop.
Yes, that's exactly right. And if we're trying to work on climate change, then one thing you want to do is not make everything in Bangladesh and then ship it across the Pacific all the time.
Right,
okay?
right.
So we want local solutions to develop. Now, the last comment, Alora, when we get a chance, we need to get BioLin started. Okay, I'd like to connect to BioLin research. We talked to the University of Saskatchewan professor. Now I want to reach out to BioLin so that I think there's no rush. Okay. There's no rush. It's just the next step whenever we get to it. Okay. Anything
right.
else, anybody?
Violins?
B-I-O,
Oh.
BioLin. So as like is in
Like
linseed.
linseed oil. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Gotcha. Okay.
And he's for like almost 20 years has been trying to research what to do with all of the flax. He's trying to use the material that is around, what do you got? 10 million acres or something over there in Saskatoon of flax growing. Okay, what do you do with this stuff? Don't just burn it. Okay, so
Which is what George Washington Carver did with the peanut.
there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we got to end it. We got to end, folks.
All right,
Thanks.
let's put a fork in,
Good night,
folks.
guys.
Thanks.
Merry
I'll see y'all next
Christmas.
week.
Merry
Good night.
Christmas. Bye-bye.
All right.